Hello guys, and welcome to our video presentation.
Today, we are going to talk about economic reforms.
All governments in the world and the economies that they are part of works on the basis of certain development strategies. And this strategy devises and decides their external and internal economic functions.
In the wider sense, a shift from one development strategy to another alternative development strategy is called economic reforms. But in the Indian context, this became synonymous to a declining role of state and an expanding role of private sector in the economic activities.
Before we dive in any deeper on economic reforms in India, it is imperative that we look into some of the most important and prominent development strategies in the world.
The first category of development strategy is planning model. Up till the rise of the Soviet Union, almost all the economies of the world were characterized by laissez-faire, or minimal government intervention in economic activities, and a dominant role for private capital.
Later on, almost all the newly independent countries who were only recently out of the clutches of their colonizers, afraid of another possibility of a foreign domination, went on with the planning model.
In the planning model, all decisions regarding economic activities are taken by a government, which also owned all the factors of production in various degrees. It was essentially a protectionist approach and led to slow development and stagnating growth rates.
The failure of the planning model gave birth to a new strategy called the Washington Consensus Strategy.
The Washington Consensus. It first came up in the 1980s and was advocated by the International Monetary Fund and World Bank, both of which are Washington-based, and hence the name. There was almost nothing new in this strategy, but was like a vindication of an old idea after a downfall.
The failure of state-dominated economies favored a return to a market economy with as limited government intervention as possible, with some countries even going overboard with no state intervention at all. Governments of socialist and planned economies, due to their failure, was forced to sell their state-owned companies, privatize and liberalize their economies, and also adopt macroeconomic stabilization measures.
The Washington Consensus Strategy was characterized by openness of the economy and an open attitude towards foreign investments. Critics of this strategy claimed it to be a form of neo-imperialism.
The Washington Consensus Strategy also proved only little success and only slightly better than the previous strategies, and the governments couldn't really ensure development without a planned approach, especially in the developed countries.